Let's have a deep dive into Laravel's default authentication system and see how we can completely customize it to fit our needs if need be. Laravel ships in with this @, command, php make auth, and what this is going to do is scaffold a complete authentication system for us. It already comes with the default controllers in our app http controllers directory, and we have an auth directory that contains the controllers for this authentication system, but that command is going to ship in or publish some auth views for authentication, and it's also going to register the routes. Let's run this command, and if we check out our directory right now, we have a new home controller, and then in our resources directory we have a new auth directory where we have the login, register, password resets views. Now, more interestingly, in our routes file, if we head over to web.php, we have a new route set that has been registered for us. If we check this out in our browser to understand what is going on, we have a login and register page, and we can go ahead and register a new account. And by the way, behind the scenes, I've actually set up my database and migrated to it. So in my database directory, I have this database.sqlite, and in my .env file, I'm referencing the SQLite connection. Okay, so let's register a new account, and once that's successful, we're redirected to the home page. Let's go ahead and deep dive into this system to understand exactly what Laravel is doing for us behind the scenes. First of all, I'm going to start by checking out my login and register buttons that are on the home page now. So resources, welcome.blade.php. Let's scroll down, and right here we have an if block, and this is checking if the route login exists, and if it exists, then it's going to show us the home URL if the user is authenticated, and it's going to show us the login and register URL if the user is not authenticated. And by the way, this is a new Blade directive that came in the late days of Laravel 5.4. How do we know this route is registered? Meanwhile, we don't have it. Let's check out our web.php. So we have this new auth route that was placed right here by our @ command, and we also have this one that was registered. Now, for us to know the routes that have been registered in our application, Laravel provides us with php route list, and as we can see, the auth routes that we have in our web.php is responsible for all of these routes that we see right here. And of course, that includes the login route right here. That's why in our welcome.blade.php, we now have this if block displaying because we registered those routes with our auth command. Now, if we head over back to the browser and visit the home page, sure enough, we have home here because right now this is the part of this auth check that is successful. That's the first part. Let's head over to our web.php and let's dive a little bit into this auth routes method. The first place to start is actually to check out the facade, right? What about searching in facades auth.php? So here we're going to have the facade auth.php that comes with Laravel, and if we check out that method, we actually have the routes method on it as a static method. And this simply calls the container and makes the router class because that's the class that is bound to this string, and it calls the auth method. Now this here is going to return to us an instance of the router. So let's head over to the router.php, and that should be in illuminate routing router.php, and we can search if there is an auth method there. There we go, there's an auth method, and this registers the typical authentication routes for an application. Now if we check out, it registers a login route, and it points that to auth login controller at show login form, and it gives it a name of login. They are same with the post, same with a logout, which is a post. It also registers for the registration process and for the password resets. Therefore, behind the scenes, Laravel is simply registering a bunch of routes for us, and that's why we actually have them here when we try to display them. If we actually try to do something you should never do in your applications, like try to delete the routes that have been registered in our vendor directory, give that a save, and notice that in our web.php, we still have this auth routes method being called, and we actually get all the routes. We discover that the routes that have been registered are just the 4 that we actually know are registered in application. Now I'll head over back to my vendor directory and make sure I undo what I did, and then if we run command again, there we go, our routes are back. Therefore, Laravel is simply registering these routes behind the scenes for us, and Laravel will automatically overwrite these routes in case we redefine them. Okay, so if you want to actually change where your application visits the register page, you can do that. Let's try one of those. Let's say we want to change the register route and we want our user to rather visit another page. For example, the register.blade.php in the authentication admin directory or whatever, however you want to customize it. You can get a route and you redefine the /register, and we'll just use a callback for now. And this is automatically going to rewrite the register route that Laravel defined in the vendor directory. Therefore, let's just say return a string register user right here, and we'll head over back to our browser. I'll just log in so we can actually visit that page. So if we try to visit the register endpoint, yeah, we still get that page, and that's because we actually have to make sure this is defined after Laravel, right? This is going to be defined and then we overwrite it. Okay, so quick refresh again. There we go, we have register user. Therefore, for whatever reason in your application, if you want to change the view or whatever you do when the visitor reaches the register route, you can go ahead and define it just after this right here, or you can completely pull this out if you want and redefine all the methods. So Laravel gives us the possibility to customize that. Next thing, what actually happens behind the scenes for our registration? Let's check out the routes we have here. We have a get login, which points to login controller at show login form. We also have a post which points to login controller at login method. So let's go ahead and try to find those methods. If we head over to our login controller, which is in our auth directory, in our controllers directory, let's check if we have a show login form. And we don't. We also do not have a login method. So what the hell is going on behind the scenes? I'm gonna hit pause for now, and in the very next video we're gonna deep dive into the login controller.